Today, we're jumping into something truly amazing, the actual stuff inside our heads.
Yeah, that 3-pound kind of wrinkled thing.
Exactly. This firm jelly that's somehow the source of, well, everything. All our thoughts, dreams, our whole reality. It's pretty wild.
It really is.
Yeah.
And our sources today argue that, understanding the brain is key to understanding ourselves, how we love, how societies work, even things like social policy.
Mm.
But there's this weird paradox, right? So in our reality, we rarely stop to think about the engine creating it. We just assume what we see is reality perfectly captured.
That's exactly what we want to unpack, how all our experiences, everything we do, actually sculpts the brain's microscopic details, making identity, well, less fixed and more of a moving target.
Okay, so to get into that, we need to talk about adaptability. Why are humans, everywhere?
Right.
The sources contrast us with what they call hardwired animals. Think of a rhino. It's pretty much pre-programmed, develops fast, functional almost right away. But that speed means less flexibility. You won't see a rhino thriving in, say, downtown Tokyo.
Good point. So we're different.
Totally. We're live wired, born, frankly, unfinished, biologically kind of premature.
So the environment shapes us.
Exactly. It allows us to adapt to almost anywhere. And the scale of this wiring early on is just mind-blowing. In the first 2 years, a baby forms up to 2 million new connections.
Wait, per second?
Per second, yeah.
Wow.
So by age 2, a child has, get this, double the synapses of an adult, over 100 trillion.
Double. So what happens to them?
Well, then comes pruning. The brain is all about efficiency. It starts getting rid of the connections that aren't used much, like paths in a forest that disappear if nobody walks on them. We're literally sculpted by what we experience.
But that reliance on the environment, that sounds risky. What if the environment is bad?
Huge risk. And the sources give this heartbreaking example. The Romanian orphans in those state-run institutions, they had basic physical care, food, shelter.
But not much else.
Right. Very little emotional connection, very little stimulation. And the effects were just devastating.
How bad are we talking?
Measurable stuff. IQs often down in the 60s or 70s. Brain activity, measured by EEG, was dramatically lower. And language. Some kids were so deprived of normal interaction, they actually developed this kind of strange, unique Creole among themselves.
Oh, that's awful, just from neglect.
And the social effects were deep, too. Long-term attachment problems. One really striking thing was this indiscriminate friendliness. They just run up to any stranger, leap into their arms. No normal stranger caution.
Is there any good news there? Can the brain bounce back?
Yes, thankfully. That's the encouraging part. It shows the brain's plasticity. Research found a clear link. The younger the children were when they were moved into good foster care, especially before age 2, the better they recovered.
So those early years are just incredibly critical.
Absolutely foundational for building that basic architecture.
Okay, so early life is massive for wiring. But it doesn't just stop there, right? The sources say rewiring keeps happening.
Oh, definitely not. Brain development goes on until our mid-20s, the teenage years. That's another huge period of reorganization.
Another one?
Yep. Another wave of connection over production, especially in the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making hub. And then more intense pruning. That area actually shrinks by about 1% a year during adolescence.
And I bet that explains, well, a lot about teenagers.
It does. It directly fuels some of those intense emotional states. Like, there was this experiment. They had adults and teens sit on a stool in a shop window, totally exposed.
Oh, I hate that.
Right. They measured anxiety with skin response sweat. Adults got stressed, sure.
Yeah.
But the teenagers, their social anxiety just went through the roof.
Why so much higher for them?
Well, it turns out the brain region involved in thinking about yourself and how others see you, the medial prefrontal cortex, or MPFC, its activity actually peaks around age 15.
So self-consciousness is biologically dialed up then?
Immensely.
Yeah.
And it also links to risk-taking. It's this neural imbalance.
Imbalance? How so?
Basically, teens have a fully revved up pleasure-seeking system. The nucleus accumbens is firing on all cylinders. But the part responsible for smart decisions and impulse control, the orbitofrontal cortex, is still, well, under construction.
Mature engine, weak brakes.
You got it.
Yeah.
Leads to that hypersensitivity and, taking more risks.
Okay, but plasticity isn't just for kids and teens. What about adults? Those London cab drivers, right? The knowledge, that's legendary.
Yeah.
Did that actually change their brains?
It absolutely did. Physically changed them. Scans showed that the back part of their hippocampus, crucial for spatial memory, was visibly larger.
Wow, really?
Yes, and it wasn't that they started out that way. The longer they've been driving and using the knowledge, the bigger that region got. It's undeniable proof that intense practice physically reshapes the adult brain.
We even saw something similar with Einstein, didn't we, after he died?
Yeah, his brain showed an enlarged area for his left fingers that omega sign fold, directly linked to playing the violin his whole life. Every skill, every memory, it all leaves a physical trace.
Okay, so if our identity is constantly being written and rewritten, let's shift gears. Reality itself, it feels so direct, like we just open our eyes and see the world. But the brain's locked in darkness, right?
Completely sealed off, no light, no sound in there.
Yeah.
It has zero direct access.
So how does it experience anything?
Through translation, our senses, eyes, ears, skin, they're like interpreters. They take external stuff like photons or air vibrations and convert it all into the brain's only language, electrochemical signal.
So everything we perceive, sight, sound, touch, it's all just patterns of electricity inside our heads.
It's an electrochemical rendition created internally, which means seeing isn't passive like a camera. It needs active learning.
Like that case of Mike, the man who got cornea transplants after being blind for decades.
Exactly. He had working eyes, suddenly. But the visual information was just noise to him. Terrifying noise. He couldn't make sense of it, couldn't recognize faces. His visual cortex had been taken over by other senses.
So he had to learn to see from scratch as an adult.
Pretty much. Learn to connect vision with touch and movement, just like babies do.
And that kitten experiment really drives it home, too. The cylinder with the stripes.
Right. The crucial difference was interaction. One kitten walked, matching its movements to what it saw. The other was carried passively, seeing the same things but without controlling the input.
And the passive one couldn't see properly?
Nope. Vision needs that active, whole-body engagement. You have to learn through interaction.
Okay, so the brain builds reality, learns to see. Does it also have to manage time? Because things seem simultaneous, but signals travel at different speeds, don't they?
They do. This is super interesting. The synchronized illusion of time. Think about a sprinter. The sound of the gun reaches the brain faster than the sight of the smoke.
Right, sound is quicker. Maybe 160 milliseconds versus 190 for vision, something like that.
Exactly. Yet when you clap your hands, the sound and the sight feel perfectly together.
So how does the brain pull off that trick?
It waits. It basically collects all the sensory data that arrives within a certain window, sight, sound, touch, and only then does it construct the story of what just happened and serve it up to your conscious awareness.
Hang on, so our conscious experience is always a little bit delayed.
Yep. It has to lag behind the physical events to create that synchronized feeling. We are quite literally living in the very recent past all the time.
Wow.
No.
Okay. And this reality built on delay is based on memory, which isn't like a recording, is it?
Not even close. Memory is a reconstruction. It's fragile. It's unstable. Because neurons do multiple jobs. They're part of many memory networks. So, as the sources say, the real enemy of memory isn't time passing.
It's other memories interfering.
Exactly. They overlap, they blur, they corrupt each other.
And this makes memory incredibly malleable. Elizabeth Loftus's work.
That's pretty sobering. It's changing one word in a question.
Right. Asking about cars that smashed versus hit changed how fast people remembered them going. The way you ask the question literally reshapes the memory.
But it gets even more wild than that, doesn't it? Implanting totally false memories.
Yeah, the lost in the mall scenario. Completely fabricated. Yet, about a quarter of the participants came to believe it happened. They didn't just agree. They often added their own vivid emotional details to this event that never occurred.
A quarter of people. That really makes you question things like eyewitness testimony.
Fundamentally, our memory is just not reliable in that way.
So if reality is constructed, delayed, and based on faulty memory, who's actually in charge? It can't just be our conscious self.
Definitely not. Consciousness is, like Freud said, just the tip of the iceberg. Think about lifting a coffee cup. Seems simple. But it involves trillions of unconscious calculations, coordinating muscles, balance, grip. We only notice that unconscious work when it breaks down. Like Ian Waterman, the man who lost proprioception.
Perfect example. His muscles were fine, but he lost that automatic sense of where his limbs were. He had to consciously command every single step, watching his legs, using vision to compensate for the lost sense. It shows the sheer amount of work happening below deck, constantly.
Which is why we automate skills, right? Like the cup stacking experiment you mentioned.
Yes, that was fascinating. When you tried it, host speaker, your brain waves showed high beta, lots of effort, problem solving.
I was definitely concentrating hard.
But the champion, Austin Neighbor, doing it way faster. His brain showed high alpha waves. That's usually associated with rest, with being calm.
Even while his hands were flying.
Exactly, because for him, the skill was burned into the hardware. Procedural memory, It runs automatically, efficiently, without conscious effort, on autopilot.
And this unconscious stuff isn't just about movement. It nudges our choices too, right? Priming.
Oh, constantly. Hold a warm drink, you judge strangers more warmly. Sit in a hard chair, you negotiate more toughly. We're unaware of these influences, but the brain links the physical sensation to our social judgments.
And it affects big life decisions too, that implicit egotism idea.
Yeah, it's statistically significant. More dentists named Dennis or Denise than chance would predict. People slightly more likely to marry someone with the same first initial.
And consciously, they'd have rational reasons.
Of course, they talk about shared values, attraction, but that subtle, unconscious pull towards similarity was likely a factor.
So decisions aren't neat calculations. They're more like a debate, a neural parliament.
That's a great way to put it. It's often a conflict between different networks, wanting ice cream now versus wanting to look good later. The brain runs simulations, estimates future rewards, often driven by gut feelings, emotional tags, even signals from the body heart rate, sweating.
Okay, last big area, the social brain. We're clearly not built to be alone.
Not at all. We're fundamentally social. And apparently, we're born with some pretty sophisticated social tools, like that puppet show study with babies.
Yeah, under a year old.
They consistently preferred the helpful puppet over the mean one. It suggests an innate ability to judge intentions, trustworthiness. It's built in.
And empathy seems hardwired too, using our own pain circuits.
That's the idea, the pain matrix. When you see someone else get hurt, the emotional parts of your own pain network light up. You're essentially running a simulation of their pain. That's what empathy is, neurologically speaking.
Which connects to mirroring copying expressions and the Botox finding.
Right. People with Botox, whose facial muscles were temporarily paralyzed, were worse at reading emotions in photos. About 70% accuracy compared to 77% for controls.
Because they couldn't fully mirror the expression.
Exactly. It hindered their ability to run that internal simulation needed to understand the other person's feeling.
And social pain, being excluded, that actually hurts, like physical pain.
The brain scans suggest yes. That virtual ball-tossing game, cyberball. When people were suddenly ignored, the brain regions that process physical pain became active. Social connection is apparently so vital for survival that being rejected triggers a genuine pain alarm.
But this strong drive for connection creates the in-group, out-group problem, doesn't it?
It does. That's the dark side. Lab studies show our basic empathy response, that pain matrix activity dials down when we view someone from an outgroup. Even if the groups are totally arbitrary, just assign labels.
That's scary. That reduction in empathy, that's how dehumanization starts.
It's a key mechanism. When empathy drops, the brain starts processing people more like objects. Less activity in areas like the MPFC when thinking about them. We saw this in scans looking at homeless people. And propaganda exploits this, ruthlessly spreading stories to make an outgroup seem less human, less worthy of empathy, like those false stories during the Yugoslav war.
So we need to actively fight that tendency, like in the Jane Elliott blue eyes, brown eyes classroom experiment.
Exactly. That was so powerful. The kids put in the inferior group felt their whole personality change. But crucially, when the roles switched, they got it. They learned viscerally that these social rules can be arbitrary, which helps build perspective to resist that kind of manipulation.
So wrapping this up, the brain is constantly changing, live-wired by experience. It builds our own unique, delayed version of reality. It's run mostly by unconscious processes, and it's fundamentally deeply social.
And that complexity,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost impossible to grasp. Think of it less like a computer and more like chaos. Maybe thousands of tanks of bouncing ping pong balls, as one source put it. The individual balls, the neurons follow rules, but the sheer scale, trillions of interactions. It means you can never perfectly predict what any one brain, any one person will do next.
We're guided by these deep forces, but the system itself is fundamentally unpredictable.
Beautifully unpredictable, yeah.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with this thought. That unique, ever-changing pattern etched into your brain by your life. It guarantees that no one exactly like you has ever existed before or will ever exist again.